Is India planning to break away from the BRICS for the US? Since becoming an alliance, the BRICS has been looking to expand. What initially started as a setup made up of Brazil, India, Russia, and China added one more member country, and that was how South Africa became a member country. The addition of South Africa to this body felt like that was how far the BRICS was going to go as far as the numerical increase was concerned. But clearly, that hasn't been the case. BRICS has continued expanding and has accepted applications from several intending members. But just when it looks like the BRICS system is about to become a major force, it is beginning to look like one of its founding members might be walking away from this alliance. So which of the four powerful founding members of BRICS is interested in using the exit door? We will find out in a minute, but in the meantime, kindly like and share this video. Also, please subscribe to this channel if you are new here. When BRICS became a thing, not many people were sure how long it was going to last. Although the notion of the BRICS lasting the test of time could have seemed like a move powered by the Americans, that isn't the case. You see, quite a number of the nations that make up this organization have a lot in common. But it's interesting how they also have lots of differences, and how their differences are probably more significant than what binds them. The following members of the BRICS are tired of having their economies dollarized. This is what binds them together. Apart from this, which of course is a major point, they have a lot of differences. India and China, for example, do not get along. This didn't seem like a major cause of concern initially, but right now, it is linked to a great deal of tension that could even end up causing a split in this group. You see, with the way things are going, India might be walking out of this alliance. In the last couple of weeks, it appears India has been making moves to walk away from the entire BRICS idea, and seems to be building its romance with the West. The world is still unsure of what could happen next. However, India just might be walking away from the BRICS alliance. Why does India seem to be on its way out? The idea that India might stop being a member of the BRICS is one that lots of people find difficult to stomach. Just last year, this alliance seemed to be growing, bigger and stronger. It even invited a couple of nations to join its ranks, and 5 of them accepted this invitation. Beyond nations accepting its invitation, a couple of nations have shown interest in joining this alliance. While the BRICS is getting more powerful externally, it also appears to weaken internally. It doesn't quite seem like all member nations get the same treatment, and India just might not be so comfortable with the treatment it's getting. India had no problem with this before the start of the Russia-Ukraine war. However, after Russia invaded Ukraine and the series of sanctions associated with this invasion, there has been a slight issue with getting Russian oil. Since Russia can no longer sell its oil to the rest of the world, it has to sell to India, under conditions that perhaps don't favor it so much. As much as being able to continue with the sale of its oil despite several sanctions was great, it had to agree to some conditions that it perhaps wouldn't have agreed to in the past. Being able to finally sell its oil was good for Russia, but India benefited a lot more from this agreement. It was able to save a lot of money because of this deal. This transaction between Russia and India was supposed to be done in the local currencies of the nations involved, and this was perfect for de-dollarization. The oil deal between Russia and India would have been perfect if everything had continued as planned. However, Russia came up with a condition that wasn't initially part of the agreement. This condition involved making payments for its oil using the Chinese yuan. This wasn't supposed to be a challenge, but it just wasn't something that India was interested in doing. So far as the BRICS alliance is concerned, the Indian rupee is not as valuable as the Chinese yuan. So Russia had a reason for wanting payment in Chinese yuan. Making payments in yuan seemed just okay, but it wasn't something that India was willing to do. It currently has some issues with China, and doing anything that will strengthen the Chinese economy isn't something that India wants to do. Some folks might not consider Russia asking to be paid in Chinese yuan as a deal breaker, but clearly it appears to be one. India doesn't seem interested in buying oil from Russia anymore. Rather, It has made moves to buy oil from the United States. Now, when this move is looked at in isolation, it isn't a big deal. On the other hand, the fact that it is a move that can be said to stand against everything that the BRICS stands for, which is absolute de-dollarization. Will BRICS do anything about India buying American oil? Every organization has its own rules of engagement. For BRICS, its rules of engagement are focused on ensuring that there is a significant reduction in global dollar reliance. This is common knowledge. So what happens when one of its founding members decides to go against everything it holds dearly? Will BRICS do anything about India buying American oil? Every organization has its own rules of engagement. For BRICS, its rules of engagement are focused on ensuring that there is a significant reduction in global dollar reliance. This is common knowledge. So what happens when one of its founding members decides to go against everything it holds dearly? On the surface, it might be easy to assume BRICS will simply drop the hammer on India. This doesn't seem like something India will consider too hard. But will that help this alliance achieve anything? The answer is an obvious no. So what's the way forward? There are several ways BRICS might want to go about the issue of India buying American oil. But right now, the best move will be to look into the bone of contention between China and India. This is important. However, it is a lot more important than you might have assumed. You see, the China-India feud is not new. It has existed since before BRICS was formed and has always been a source of concern. Well, beyond merely being a source of concern, it has also been seen as an issue that might stand in the way of the BRICS' growth. India and China have been in the middle of a clash for a long time, and neither of them has shown any willingness to give up on whatever it is they are holding on to so strongly. Since neither China nor India are interested in giving up their positions, there is a likelihood that they might be unable to continue in the same alliance. So which one of them is ready to step down? Well, so far, China seems like the most valuable member of this alliance. Also, it is Russia's very close ally. So it doesn't seem like it will be leaving this alliance for any reason. At least, not now. If China will not be leaving this alliance, and India and China cannot coexist, does that mean India's days in the BRICS are numbered? And can the BRICS stay strong without having India in the mix? India might not be the biggest member of the BRICS. Nonetheless, it is a key member of this organization. So letting it walk away is certainly not good. As much as letting India go doesn't look like something this alliance is interested in, India's move to buy oil from the United States is doing the exact opposite of what members of the BRICS alliance should be doing. Right now, it might seem like India is the only nation at fault here, but that's not the case. The Indians have been pushed into a position which they might not exactly be able to help. It might be easy to blame the Indians for not wanting to use the Chinese yuan, but even trying to get India to make payment for Russian oil using the Chinese yuan is not exactly what the goal of the BRICS alliance is. When this alliance was formed, it was targeted at ensuring every member country grows, not making other member countries work for the benefit of one country when things would not favor them. Should India remain in the BRICS? With the most recent happenings in the BRICS, and with it looking like India might be losing its place, is it apt for India to keep being a part of the BRICS? Well, there are several answers to this question. However, with everything happening in the BRICS, it feels just perfect for India to move on, and there are quite a few reasons for this. The most significant reason India might be better off staying out of the BRICS is economic. You see, the founding members of BRICS enjoyed a level of economic dynamism when this alliance was formed. However, it doesn't quite appear like this is the case today. Unlike several years ago when the economies of China, Brazil, Russia, and India were doing great, they do not seem to be doing as well today. Although a couple of these countries are still rich, with the way things are going, they will be unable to yield actual global influence regardless of the funds they have access to. It is easy to believe that influence comes with a great deal of wealth, So these wealthy countries should be influential. Sadly, that's not how it works. If influence, in the grand scheme of things, was simply because of wealth, countries like Japan should be a lot more influential. Interestingly, lots of emerging economies are not necessarily interested in partnering with richer economies. They're interested in getting into partnerships with countries that are still rising. That's one reason BRICS looked like a big deal when it first came on board. A couple of years ago, China wouldn't struggle to achieve up to 10% economic growth a year. But things are different now. Although China is experiencing a lot less in terms of economic growth, it is still growing. Unlike China, Russia has been on the decline, and things will only get worse because of the sanctions it has to deal with. South Africa is dealing with a lot of unemployment and challenges with governance. This wasn't always the case. Right now, BRICS is made up of economies that are thought to be getting weak. The only exception to this statement is India, which is still enjoying rapid growth. Since India is still growing very fast, it doesn't have much in common with the other members of BRICS, so it might as well want to walk away if things stop favoring it. If India's status is not a good enough reason to leave BRICS, the fact that the BRICS alliance is getting political is another reason. It is also becoming centered around China, and this is the last thing India might want to be involved in. That's not all. BRICS seems to be sharply against the West, and this is not what India's foreign policy is about. India, as a country, wants to relate to every country on the same level. It does not quite seem like this is something that BRICS will give it the freedom to do. So, it just might be time to call it a day. It is up to the Indian government to decide at this point. But what do you think it should do? Kindly tell us in the comments section below.